Want to get into card making, but you don't know where to start? In this video, I'm going to cover the basics of card making. I'll share what I think are card making essentials, and I'll also tell you what are the nice to haves. To see that video, stick around. It's coming up next. When I started making cards back in 2017, I was joyfully overwhelmed at all the things. I had worked in the scrapbook industry for more than a decade, and handmade cards just seemed like this magical secret that I knew nothing about. Today, making cards and products for card makers is my full time job. So I feel like I have a good bit of knowledge locked up in here that I'm happy to share with you. Let's take a look at some of the basics. My list of basics include cardstock, ink, stamps, stamping blocks, a scoring board, a paper trimmer, and a die cut machine. Do you need all of these things to make your first card? No, you don't need a die cut machine to get started, but all of the other things really are core essentials. Let's take a look first at cardstock. Card makers typically use 8.5 by 11-inch cardstock to make their cards. You can cut it two ways, the tall way or the short way. Both of these cuts allow you to make the same sized finished cards, which fold down to be 4.25 by 5.5 inches. This size is called a standard USA2 and is a very common size in card making. A paper trimmer is also an essential tool to help you get your card bases and your card panels cut to size. Most card makers use high quality cardstock, and I will have several brands linked in my supply list for this video. However, I recommend not going all in on super high quality cardstock unless you know you're going to stick with the hobby. At the minimum, you'll need an 80-pound cardstock, but ideally 100-pound is better, and these are usually cover weight cardstocks. I use a 110-pound cardstock for all of my white cardstock needs. Anything lighter than 80-pound might feel a little too flimsy to make a handmade card. That said, better cardstock yields better results. If you think you're going to love this hobby after making a few cards, consider purchasing a pack of high quality white cardstock and see the difference that it makes. Let's talk about ink. Card makers need ink. We stamp with it, ink blend with it, watercolor with it, smush it, swipe it, you name it, we do it. And while there are many types of inks out there, I recommend starting out with a pad of black dye ink. Dye inks are water-based, they are easy to clean off of your stamps, and can be very all-purpose in the long run. If you plan to color the images that you stamp, that may determine the type of black ink that you use, especially if you have your eye on alcohol markers, which can be very fun to color with. But to start, just some basic black ink is all you need to get stamping. In terms of colors for ink pads, I suggest picking a small rainbow, which gives you lots of options for stamping, ink blending, and other fun techniques. You can even buy ink cubes as opposed to full-size pads if you're not sure yet if you want to stick with the hobby. It's a great way to sample ink pads. Now let's talk about stamps. You'll need some stamps to get started. Today, most companies make clear photopolymer stamps. They are easy to clean, provide terrific stamped impressions, and are easy to store. If you think you'll want to cut out your stamped images, you can also pick up coordinating metal dies as well. Once you start stamping and cutting out your stamped images, you're going to love the look. That's what got me hooked. You'll need some stamping blocks which stick to the stamps, and that allows you to stamp your images onto your cardstock. I'll talk more about my favorite way to stamp in the nice to haves section of this video. And last but not least, for the essential tools, a die cut machine. Now this is a big purchase. A die cutting machine is an essential tool if you plan to cut out stamped images, but it's also essential for so many other types of metal dies out there. Machines come in many sizes. Some are manual hand crank machines, some are electric, but this is a must-have if you plan on making cards for any amount of time. There are many die cut machines that you can test the waters of die cutting and see if it's for you. That way, you don't have to go all in on an expensive machine that you may not use. I'm only giving you the warnings on start small and get bigger later, just in case you don't love it. Me, I loved it from the get-go, and even though I got a ton of free things sent to me the first year because of my friends in the scrapbook industry, I spent so much money on card making products in that first year. It was a great tax deduction year for me. Now that we've covered some essentials, let's move on to the nice to haves. I've got a few things here on my list. First and foremost is a stamping platform, a full set of blending brushes, basic die sets such as rectangles or circles, and more colors of ink. Let's start out by talking about stamp platforms. There are two stamp platforms that I have in my studio, but the one that I bought from day one was the Misty. I bought the Misty when I first started making cards, and it has made all the difference in the world in terms of having success when stamping. The Misty is a tool that has changed the stamp industry. The beauty of this tool is if you don't stamp it great the first time, you can ink up your stamp and stamp it right back in the same position again, thereby saving time, frustration, and getting perfect images every time. The Misty comes with a paper insert, but I don't use that insert. Instead, I opt for another company's photopolymer grip mat, and that secures your paper in place while you're stamping. I bought my first Misty right as I was getting into card making, and I am so glad that I did because I don't know if I would have stuck with it if I were only stamping with blocks. I've gotten better at stamping with blocks, but the Misty really does make a huge difference in how stamping can be easy and effortless. The other stamp positioner I have is the stamp wheel, and this too is a fantastic resource to have in your craft room. It has a totally different type of plate system that you put your stamps on, you flip the plate over and stamp, but also the surface itself can be used as a work surface. And that makes it a really versatile tool for things you might want to get into down the road, like layered stenciling or other inky techniques. Both of these tools are investments, but I feel like having a stamp platform will change the way you see card making in terms of finding success right out of the gate. The next nice to have is a set of blending brushes. There are so many styles of blending brushes out today on the market, and all of them are designed to help you get ink onto your project. And there are long handled brushes, short handled brushes, big fluffy brushes, little tiny brushes. The point is, blending brushes give you lots of options for creativity, and I love using them myself. When I first started, I used foam tools to blend, and I never got the hang of that. But as soon as I had a bristle brush in my hand, and these basically came from the makeup industry, ink blending and other techniques just opened up for me. Another nice to have are a few different sets of shape dies. If you have your die cut machine and you're getting into making cards, a set of rectangle panel dies is a great addition because you can cut different sized card panels that you can layer together on your handmade cards. Also, other shapes like circles and oblongs and dewdrops and stars. There's a ton of different shapes you can pick from, but they're really great to have as basics for when you're building card projects. And lastly, building out your ink collection. You don't need to have every color under the sun to make cards, but once you get used to different inks and different companies and different formulations, you may find yourself wanting more colors. And let me tell you, it's a slippery slope. Sometimes card makers do fall into that full set syndrome. I don't know anyone like that. Not even. So just be forewarned, it's like collecting, well, I guess it's like collecting ink colors. It's pretty fun. Now I'm going to walk you through a quick card using the things that I've talked about and explain them as I go. You ready? Okay, let's go. To start out, I'll take an 8.5 by 11 sheet of cardstock. This is the 110 pound that I use most of the time, and I'm going to trim this first right at 5.5 inches. And now I have two panels. One can be my note card itself, if I choose, but I'm going to cut this panel down even further. And this paper trimmer, which is a smaller size, it actually has common card crop sizes built right into this piece. So I'm going to go right here at 4¼ and cut. So this is a classic size panel. I'm going to trim this down just a little bit more because I love to crop my panels to 3½ inches by 4¾ Remember when I mentioned the die shape sets? That's why a rectangle set is so great, because you can cut your panels perfectly with those dies. All right, now for an inky technique. I'm going to take 3 colors from my collection, and these are in rainbow order. So this means they are analogous colors. They follow one another on the color wheel. And what I'm going to do is just create a little dreamy blend for the back of my card. This is really easy to do. And all you need is a little plastic baggie wrapped around a paper towel that you smush up together. Super easy tool that anyone can make. I used some press and seal, but a little baggie, and then you just tie it off and put paper towel. We're gonna use this to create a pattern. First, I'm gonna smush this down, the sprout color, and I have a glass surface, but any slippery surface will work. If you have a little spray mister, this is something I didn't mention, but very handy for crafters. You can spritz it onto your ink, pick it up just like that on your little pouncer, and add some little blobs to your paper. I will clean up my green with a little stamp chamois. This is another great tool which I showed earlier. I use this to clean my stamps. You just keep it damp, rinse it out, and it is great for cleaning up stamps and other messy areas. Now I'm going to do the same with the surf. Give a little spritz. Bring this over. I can wipe this off as well. Pick it up and just kind of potch some down like that. So we're working in a rainbow order, coming down. Wipe it up. We'll go in with the lilac and the same thing. A spritz. I'll wipe this off, pick up the color, and come down the card like that. And just like that, I've created a panel with some color and some interest, and now we'll turn it into a card. I'm going to use my Mini Misty tool because, again, this is the tool that changed how I viewed stamping. And again, this is the mini one. There are 2 sizes, and in here is the photopolymer grip mat, which is a separate company that makes these, but it makes it so nice to hold things in place. And when they start to lose their stick, I just wash them in hot soapy water, rinse them well, let them air dry, and pop them right back in, and they're as sticky as can be. They're made out of the same material as the stamps. So for this card, I just want to make a very simple thank you. So I will take this greeting and set that here. I will pick it up with the Misty Door. Now, one thing I want to point out, especially if you're a new card maker, when you have a stamp set, and if you've never stamped with any of the stamps, they have a slight coating on them. And what I like to do is rub my finger over the stamp, and this is called priming your stamp. You only need to do it on the first time, but sometimes when people first start stamping and they don't get a great impression, it is because these stamps have a coating and you want to just get it primed. The stamps will stamp better and better each time. I also use a little eraser tool, and that is specifically designed for stamps, and that gets it primed and ready to go. I keep a small cube of my favorite dye ink. This is from Gina K Designs. Again, this is a water-based ink, and I love these small cubes because they're easy to handle and they're easy to get onto the greetings. Bring this down and press. Walk your fingers to transfer. I also have a tool called a Stampin' Bug, and that just lets me put pressure on the door, but you can also just rub your fingers over it. And when I lift it up, that's a perfect impression. But even if it hadn't been, if I missed a spot, I can ink it right back up and nothing has moved. And that is a greeting that is ready to go. I'll take this damp stamp chamois and that lets me clean the stamp quickly. I keep it in this little flip top, which I have also had since the very beginning of card making. It lets a little air in, just keeps it from getting too smelly over time, and it's a great thing to keep it damp. Now we'll go ahead and use the die to cut this out. I'll take the coordinating metal die and line it up. Now I use a large electric machine for most of my die cutting. I'm just going to show you here on this small machine, because this is just a little manual machine. It's really small. You can take it on the go, and I think it's absolutely adorable to have little things if you ever create with friends. And we'll just line this up. And the tape I put on there is a low-tack tape called Easy C tape. And the reason I use that tape is just to keep the die from slipping out of place. And also it does not ever tear, and I would say 99.9% of the time, it doesn't tear your cardstock. And there is my greeting. I brought in a piece of lilac cardstock, which I thought would make a really pretty base for this card. And this is 11 inches by 4 1/4. I will score it here by pressing into the edge so that it's flush, and score it right at 5 1/2 inches. Then what I keep in my studio as well is Teflon bone folders. I have a couple of these, and the reason I like them, and a lot of other crafters like them, is because it allows you to give a really nice press to give that score line a shine-free finish. It works great, and because we added that score line, there's no cracking of the cardstock, so now we can add everything to the card base. I like a little dimension on my cards, as do a lot of card makers. So I like to put a little foam tape on my card, and that is just going to pop it up to give it a little more interest. Another thing that you'll want to have if you get serious about card making is a nice pair of scissors. I think I have like 5 different scissors, and I feel like they all have a purpose. But again, you don't need 5 pairs of scissors. But you might. All right, so I'll put my foam tape on here, and then make sure we've got the top of the card. You always want to double check, because I've done that too many times to count. And then we can put this right onto the folded card base. I usually stand up, look down, make sure the sides all look about equal, and pop it down. While I have my foam tape out, I will add a little bit more here to the greeting. And you can also use foam squares as well. I have plenty of those, or you can just cut your foam tape into little pieces to give your sentiment a little visual interest and pop off the panel. And then another very handy tool, these are called reverse tweezers, and you squeeze to open. So when you let go, they hold your piece, and then you can pick where you want your greeting to be. I think I'm gonna go right smack dab in the middle and just pop that down. And just like that, you have a finished greeting card. Now you can do far more than this on a given card. You can add little sequins, which I often do, but those are some really simple techniques to make a simple card. And I just wanted to share that process with you so you could see how some of these recommendations come together. I will have links to everything I've shown in today's video. You can find that supply list linked in the YouTube description. And I will also have a blog post with all the information over there as well. I hope this video gives you a good introduction to getting started in hand making cards. Be sure to leave me a comment and let me know if you're a new card maker. Plus, I'm going to have a link here for another video for you to check out. Please consider becoming a subscriber to my channel. I post card videos every week. I try to keep it real and show you every step so that you can build success while you are creating cards. Thanks so much for watching, and have a great day.